Welcome to the 52 Love Podcast, your show for 52 lessons in 52 weeks. Before we dive in, remember you can find the audio version of this episode, along with the rest of the series, on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor, and Radio Public. And now, here's your host, Ms. Tonya Todd.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the 52 Love Podcast. 52 Love began as a blog series last year, 52 Love Lessons in 52 Weeks. This year, we are exploring each of those tips with a new guest each week. This week's tip is to wash your partner's car. And to help me talk about it is my guest, Dusti Arab. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Hi, sure. I'm Dusti. I'm a business strategist and a writer helping women go from survival to sustainability in their lives and businesses over at my company, The Reinvention Co.
Oh, that's very interesting. What do you do there?
Oh man, so many things. We're a full-fledged marketing agency, but we also have an entire side that is like supporting my books and, just helping women get to a point in their personal lives where they really can be successful in business.
And so these women, are they all business owners, or is it all different types of women?
Primarily business
Can you give
owners.
us some examples?
Absolutely. Primarily business owners, typically mouthy feminists like myself, lots of moms.
Lots of moms. Well, we need those in the world, do we not? How did you get started with something like this?
Oh, wow. I started a blog 10 years ago. And
funny how that works, huh?
Right? Yeah, kind of spurs everything else, to be honest. So I started it, and initially I was talking about minimalism and environmentalism. I was in my early 20s and still in college and all of that. So I was in a very different headspace back then, but somebody told me I was a good writer and I should be a copywriter. And I was like, I have no idea what that means. So I Googled it and pretty quick I ended up doing that, and the rest is history.
Oh, that's a very cool start, I must say. And I don't meet a lot of people who, maybe a handful who started out as bloggers, but the ones that did get their start blogging have been very successful with what they've done. So I'd have to say you're probably off to a great start.
Thank you.
Are those blogs still available for people to see if they want to?
Oh, no. Those have been long since nuked. That was, 11 years ago, something like that. It's been a hot minute. I do have a handful of educational type posts and things like that, more focused on the marketing side of things on the Reinvention Co site. But for the most part these days, I do most of my, anything I'd consider, blogging or stories like that, just on social media.
So you said that you're a writer too. What is it that you write in general?
Yeah, I write a lot in the self-help and wellness space. So I'm currently working on a book called Braver Than Before. And it is a fusion of, my life story and a lot of the things that I picked up along the way working for top life coaches all over the world. And what I found was a lot of those women, they charge so much money for those bougie programs that the exercises and things that really made the most impact for me, someone who comes from not that background, was that those exercises should be accessible to everyone. And that's really the focus of this book.
Yeah. I mean, if your goal is to help people, it shouldn't be just to help people with a whole lot of money to spend.
I completely agree.
A few episodes ago, we had someone on who she actually inspired one of the tips. She didn't try it with her partner. She was the person who taught me about the tip. And so we switched it up a little and had her on the show, but she happens to work for the Rape Crisis Center here in Las Vegas. And that was an eye-opening episode. I'm learning, I've known her forever, and I was learning stuff about this person and the work that she does and just what the Rape Crisis Center does and how they empower people. And it's not just women, it's just anyone who's been in that situation. And the means that they go through to make it accessible to people, which is why I bring it up. It's not something that should only be available to those who already have some sort of privilege. It should be available to everyone, regardless of their background.
Oh my God, I absolutely agree. I'm a sexual assault survivor myself. And so those issues are incredibly important to me. I have written about that pretty extensively actually on Medium, because if it weren't for becoming an entrepreneur, I don't know how I would have been able to like get out of that situation. Like between, the abuse itself and then the realities of financial abuse, like there would have been no way out for me. So it's incredibly important to me that my work helps, democratize a lot of, these tools, these different means of, getting out, so to speak.
So I see what led to, what inspired you to want to write a book about this, but what was it that actually, pushed the button that said, yeah, I'm doing this, let's go?
Well, one failed book project that actually, it's funny, the intro for this, I was writing a book focused on learning how to date. And it was, I had only been a serial monogamous previously. So I was like, okay, I need to learn how to date. So I'm going to do 52 dates in 52 weeks and I'm going to write a book.
Oh my
about
gosh.
It. Seriously. I was like, oh my God, no way. So
I had no idea about this. That's just an amazing coincidence. So
right, yeah, unreal. So pieces of that book actually are going to be in Braver Than Before, where they're relevant. But the thing that actually pushed me over the edge to write the book, believe it or not, was getting diagnosed as ADHD this year. So
really.
So I basically spent my entire career learning how to function like other people do. I'm incapable of working a 40-hour work week for somebody else. I just can't do it. I can't do it. Mm-hmm. And when I got diagnosed with ADHD, like prior to that, it had never even crossed my mind that was, possible for me. I'd always had great grades and all of that kind of stuff. I'd never really struggled with that. But my social anxiety was just like atrocious. And turns out when you start medicating for things like this, I couldn't believe it. It completely changed my life. And I was like, oh my God, is this how other people like normally function? Like you can get this much done in a day. So that was when I started writing my book.
And how's that journey been for you so far? I mean, it's a long journey to write a book from spark of idea. Where are you on the journey? How long have you been writing it? And how's it going so far?
September. I started in September. And it's going. I'm like 3/4 of the way through it. And I'm hoping to have it done here in the next few weeks. So.
Well, that is really good progress. I mean, especially during a tragic year like we had last year. So please don't feel like you're taking too long. Some people, they write very quickly. Some are very prolific writers. But when you're writing something like that, you need to take the extra time and care to make sure you're getting your goals across. Mm-hmm. So you don't want it to be a rush job, but it sounds like you're making really great progress.
It's been, I've been sitting on this idea now for like 6 years, but it really was only in the past year with, the additional just, pressure cooker that the pandemic kind of put everybody into. It forced me to deal with a lot of the stuff that I hadn't yet. So as a result of that, I just knew it was time.
Have you learned anything while writing this?
Oh man, so much. I've just never done long form writing before. Like if you asked me to write a blog post or an essay, I can crank that out like 30 minutes flat, but making it all work together has been excruciating, but a phenomenal learning process.
Yeah, it teaches you to connect ideas that otherwise may not feel like they have a connection. And that actually sparks other creativities, don't you think? Learning this here helps fix this over here. And then you realize, oh, those are connected too, that they end up just tying themselves together and weaving this beautiful web of language and ideas together.
Absolutely. There have been a couple of chapters. There's one in particular focusing on economics, and it kind of goes through different pieces of my story and just the different extremes that I was experiencing. Because even though I had $12 in my bank account, I would be going to conferences and meeting with people who were millionaires and things like that. And just pretending that wasn't a thing, trying to find the through line through all of that and make it make sense. That was definitely, I've grown so much as a writer in the past year as a result.
I really think that economics and budgeting should be a staple in the education system. And it's not taught unless you really make an effort to take that class. Like that should not be somebody's elective.
Oh my God, right?
That should be a core a core value that people are learning how to do. Like how are kids supposed to budget if they've never had to pay for anything in their lives and they've never gone through the steps? Everyone needs to know how to do this so that they're not scraping together change to put gas in their car, you know?
Right. And not just budgeting, but taxes. But I mean, we know the people who are in charge of the education system, and they're keeping everybody exactly where they want to. So,
yeah, well, let's write books to change that. What are your publication goals?
Oh, man. I mean, yeah, I would love to sign with a top 5 publisher, but, you know, we'll see what that ends up actually looking like. I've self-published in the past, so it depends on how patient I'm willing to be mostly, and I'm still waffling. So,
so you just don't know yet.
Yeah, realistically, it matters more to me to get it in more of the right hands, whatever that ends up looking like. So all my options are open at this point. I'm not planning on starting the pitching process until I get back from my honeymoon, actually, this August. So,
oh, congratulations!
Thank you.
So, what did your partner say when learning that you were a writer?
He took it pretty well. I try to make it a point right away that I was like, I write really personal things on the internet all the time. That means I'm going to write about you. It was almost like a try to scare him away kind of thing.
Yeah. It's a warning, but it's a fair warning, right? It's a challenging process for some partners because, you know, you have to understand that there are going to be parts of my day or my time that I need to just focus on the page. And that means no distractions and no interruptions. I saw a friend today mentioning that she set aside some time for writing and told her husband and her children that this is my time. And her husband interrupted her about 4 or 5 times. And it was just like, oh,
I would kill
that should have been one of the tips.
Yeah. You notice how there's no sound in my background? That's because my office is downstairs and it has a lock on it. This is new. We only moved into our own place, like our own house this year. We bought last year. And my partner works upstairs and he is a introverted software engineer. So he tends not to bother me. And I'm the botherer. Like I'm the extrovert. I'm the person who interrupts.
Sounds like a very good match. And so speaking of your partner, your job was to wash your partner's car. How did that go? And what kind of vehicle?
It's a CRV. It's not exciting. We live in the Pacific Northwest. But it went well. He was trying to figure out what I was doing initially because I wanted to do the inside of it because we had some lovely warm weather recently. So we went down to the little river beach a few minutes from our house and my kids just like sand everywhere.
Oh my gosh.
So it was time. Like the outside was like mostly okay, but the inside was just like a total disaster. But yeah, I went out there and I just I got started and he poked his head out like once or twice. He was like, at the second time, he's like, do you want help? I was like, no, I got it. It's fine. So he mostly didn't know what to do. And one of the kids actually came out to help me too. They're like, oh, cool. Like we get to use the shiny stuff on the wheels.
Well, it sounds like you already have a home of people who are willing to, help each other. His instinct was, do you want me to help you? Rather than, oh, good, she's taking care of my stuff. It's like, well, she shouldn't have to work all by herself. So that's really sweet. And you're instilling that in your children as well, if they were out there to do stuff. How old are your children?
They are 9 and 12.
And how long have you guys been together, you and your partner?
Coming up on 4 years in August. So we've all lived together now just about 2 years, or just 2.5 years, I guess.
And one of those years was 2020.
That's why
so kudos to you making that work. Yes.
Yeah, before it was much more difficult. We were in 1,100 square feet with the 4 of us, and I have my kids half time. So the half time that we had them, everybody just my office was in the corner of our kitchen before. So things were a lot higher stress than they are now.
Yeah.
So having enough space has been huge.
So in terms of the car, is it a vehicle that it usually just goes through, the drive-through wash? Is it something that you typically take to get detailed? Do you usually do it yourself? Was any of this new?
We usually just do it ourselves. And really we don't, again, we live in the Pacific Northwest. So like in the winter and stuff, we don't bother, like, unless it gets like, we do have pine trees. So like if it gets really sappy, then we'll go and like get at those spots at least, so there's no damage. But mostly we're pretty stereotypical. We like camping. We like going to the beach, all of that stuff. So the inside just with small children, like, because at the end of the day, like you just want everybody to like get in the car and go home. Right. So it's like throw down a towel. It's fine if you're wet and gross. And it's like mostly fine if they're wet and gross, but like, oh.
Yeah. I bet it smells wonderful the next day.
Yeah. It needed it. It needed it.
Well, I'm in Las Vegas, so every day in the summer, your vehicle is sterilized inside and out, whether you want it or not. It's an inferno.
Yeah.
And the rule is if you wash your car, it will finally rain. So
I love that.
That is why you wash your car, to make it rain. You do not wash it to get it clean, because it won't stay that way. It's very dusty out here too.
Yeah. I've been a handful of times. My creative director lives out there.
Well, I appreciate you sharing your experience with us. I want to know, is there anything else you want the listeners to know about the things that you do? Any place that they can support you online?
You can find me on Instagram at Dusti Arab. Yeah, come hang out.
And do you still write on Medium?
From time to time, less so right now because book. But I imagine I'll be there again soon.
Okay. And which social media are you? Twitter, Instagram, Facebook?
I'm on all of them, and it's all the same because I have a very, very odd name.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was your given name or your author name, but I figured I would ask you off screen, but you brought it up. So.
I get asked that all the time, like at least once a week. It is my given name. I did not choose it. I don't know if my mom just wasn't excited when she conceived me or what, but it's my middle name is Rose, so it's Dusti Rose.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, that's not so bad. Arab is an unfortunate addition from someone she divorced.
But it's memorable. I did not forget your name the first time I heard it.
Nobody does.
It's one that you should keep for your author works.
Oh yeah.
Even if you take your partner's name when you get married, if you choose to do that, you should keep this as your author name.
Oh, absolutely. No, I told him, like, when he proposed, I was like, I can't take your name, right? He was like, I would expect nothing less. Like, there's too much SEO there.
Right, exactly. Well, thank you again for being a guest on the show, for sharing your experience with us, and for doing the work that you do. I'm excited for your new book. I wish you well. And if you need any help, I'm available. I now the former education chair for Henderson Writers Group, but I still have made a lot of really wonderful connections. So if you need me to point you in the right direction, I'm here to help you. And a lot of my listeners are writers as well. So let me know. I probably know someone who can help you.
Fabulous. Thank you so much.
And thank you everyone for watching and listening. If you enjoyed this show, please let Dusti know in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe. And just remember, until next time, to treat love as a verb. Thank you.